didn't want to turn it off actually
I
because
know it's great.
it is really good. So hello everyone and welcome to another thrilling uh, session with that album and the Pretender Jackson Browne this week. Um, so this is not an album I know or knew. I'm more familiar with his later work, starting with like I'm Alive. Um,
Okay.
but so this and maybe it's kind of in the space that you get into and you notice things more. I seem to have been on Instagram and Facebook Reels, as you're scrolling through, it's just seeing lots and lots of 1970s and 80s music at the moment. And something incredibly soothing about this, and the time period.
Mm.
So this came out in 1976. Um, an interesting year culturally and artistically. So Apple was founded in 1976. Jimmy Carter was elected. Uh, I wasn't a fan at the time, but it transpired that he was a truly remarkable human being,
Mm.
working, till he was 100, doing things for charity. Mao Zedong died, so the good and the bad, I suppose. Um, so films: Rocky, Taxi Driver, All the President's Men, The Outlaw Josie Wales, Carrie, Logan's Run, The Omen, Marathon Man. So some pretty mega films. Books: Interview with a Vampire, The Selfish Gene, The Children of Dune, Roots, and The Omen. And albums: Hotel California, Songs in the Key of Life, Boston, Car Wash, uh, Rastaman Vibration, Arrival, Hajira, Presence. I mean, it's like some mega pivotal albums that year, some of which we've done on the show, and some obviously we haven't. Um, so why Jackson Browne for you? Why this?
Well, he basically got me through my adolescence. So it was uh, a singer
I
songwriter that I
agree.
was a singer songwriter that I was listening to. Seemed to relate to the lyrics really well. The stuff that he was talking about were things that I was feeling. It made me definitely feel like I wasn't, alone in the world. There were other
Mm,
people, wrestling with the same stuff. Interesting. I mean, in '76, United States. I mean, it's post Vietnam. It's post Watergate. There's
because
sort
obviously
of
the last album we did together was Credence, wasn't it?
right. Yeah.
And yeah, a very much a Vietnam era album.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I mean, I think all those things add up to why it's one of my favorite albums, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to listen to with you and talk through the tunes.
Yeah, well, it's it's interesting because quite a few people commented or messaged saying, "I'm really sorry I can't make it because this album is like a mega album for me as well." So it's interesting because it was. I mean, he's not. He is a big star, and obviously he's got a huge amount of longevity because he's still making albums now. One of
Mm,
my friends has done some session musician work on one of his more recent things.
mm,
Um, but he's not a big star, is he? He's not Madonna. He's not Bruce Springsteen. He's not one of these people that everybody's heard of. And even if people have heard of him, there'll be I imagine the vast majority of people wouldn't be able to name one of his songs.
mm. Yeah, I think it depends on the circle you're in. You know,
Yeah,
yeah. I think he's still got a pretty huge following. I was at a show a few years back, sold out, in a couple of days, that kind of thing. So, um, yeah, and I still think he's putting out relevant music. He's always been sort of a man of his time, and
mm,
was talking about the stuff that was happening in the world. I I think this album is really kind of a breakthrough album. It's his fourth album.
yeah,
Um, I love the first three. so I couldn't wait for this album to come out. I happened to see him when he was touring behind this album, and his wife had just committed suicide sort of the year before. So you'll see a lot of the songs on this album are quite reflective and, kind of deals with some of the stuff that he's dealing with. He's got a young son who actually sadly recently committed suicide himself. But when I was seeing him tour behind this album, he came out and it was doing the song The Pretender. And he had this little blonde kid walk out on stage who was his son and sat with him at the piano. And the kid was probably no more than 4 or 5.
Wow.
And it was pretty, it resonated with me as a young teenager, like, wow, that's kind of cool,
Yeah, it's quite an intimate thing to do with the crowd, isn't it? To kind
Yeah,
of introduce them to your young son.
right. So, anyway, a lot of sort of the background of what's going on this album and the lyrics kind of, I think, talk to a lot of those themes.
Mm. Yeah. So, like you said, his fourth album. In my notes here, someone had written before he became the definitive voice of 1970s Southern California singer-songwriter movement. Uh, Jackson Browne was a wonderkind. Born in Germany and raised in LA, he was a writing masterclass in heartbreak and existential dread while still a teenager, most notably penning These Days when he was just 16.
Mm,
And I guess that's one of the remarkable things about some of the artists that we've covered on the show. They they're able to um, they're able to speak through their music and their lyrics with a maturity that belies their young age, doesn't it?
mm-hmm.
And they seem often, I think, to have um, a deeper understanding of the world than people who are many times older than them.
Mm-hmm.
And he is one of those people. As I said, although this is not an album that I'm familiar with, it's there's an instant comfort to it.
Mm.
The way that he delivers the songs and the mix is it's like slipping into a comfortable old sweater and remind you of sunny sunny childhood days of drinking Coca-Cola and riding on a skateboard. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of there's something quite comforting about it, even though not
Yeah.
all of the subject matter is nice.
Yeah, no, it's not an easy album to really, really listen to. If you're listening to the lyrics, there's some pretty heavy stuff in there. But I think the way it's presented, there's a beauty in it. So the thing that I like about Jackson and Browne is and I think you touched on it a second ago when you were talking about, you know, wise for his age kind of thing. It's the ability to sort of see the world through empathetic eyes.
Mm.
Putting he's able to write from a standpoint of the character in the song, whether that's him or not.
Yeah, yeah,
And then it becomes universal, because if you can relate to that too, and you see those kinds of things yourself, or he raises awareness in you because you're listening to the lyric, and then all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, I never thought of that, but yeah, that's right.
yeah, yeah.
Now you're hooked,
Yeah, very,
and
very much so. And interestingly, this was produced by John Landau, who
mm,
did this immediately after he'd done Born to Run, which is one of Bruce's biggest albums.
mm,
So it's kind of I'm sure that gave the production a degree of confidence that perhaps it wouldn't
mm,
otherwise have had with this album. And
yeah,
it's not all overblown and loud. There's something, and I used the word earlier. There's something quite intimate about this, isn't
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then, Landau, as we know, went on to become, Springsteen's sort of right hand man, the
it?
manager to this day. And you mentioned how comforting the music itself is, and if you look at some of the players on the album, it's a who's who. You've got Bonnie Raitt on there, you've got Don Henley, you've got uh, David Crosby, Graham Nash is on there. There's
Yeah,
some players that you've heard even at that time when the album came out. They were already mega superstars, and now they're on this album.
yeah, and I guess that is a an indication of how well regarded amongst those kind of uber successful and talented people Jackson Browne is,
Right.
because you wouldn't want to play golf with me, for because but you would want to play golf with someone that you thought was incredibly talented and a rising star,
Sure.
whether that was to help them or to potentially collaborate and learn.
Right.
Um, So, first track, the Fuse, ominous, slow building, and heavy. Interesting that in the notes that were written by this reviewer, the track sets the thematic blueprint for the entire record. It directly grapples with the anxiety of existence and the will to live in the wake of his wife's struggles. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and it's a really good opener for the record, isn't it? Because it doesn't. It does set the scene. It's musically it's quite gentle and not too in your face.
Yeah, it's a slow burn, and it builds. I mean, that song builds up to,
Mm,
this, and now it's a great introduction to the rest of the album because you're ready by the time the
yeah,
song's over. An incredible lyric. I mean, the fear of living for nothing strangles the will.
yeah,
I mean, what an elegant way to express that feeling.
yeah,
There's
and
that feeling of, am I living for nothing?
yeah, and also there's the lyric at the end of that. I'm going to be around,
Mm,
and this gives it context. So you've done these shows before, so often you listen to a record, you love a record, and you never really go beneath the surface because there's so much music out there and you haven't got the
mm,
time.
mm,
And when you do the research for the show, you kind of you see these things and you start to connect the dots. And I said about an album later on, I'm Alive,
mm,
and th- this kind of this journey surrounded by such incredible tragedy. To lose one of your immediate family through suicide is awful. To lose two must be beyond
mm,
belief in terms of how painful that
mm,
would be.
mm.
um
Well,
and
and just sort of side note on I'm Alive, it's sort of the breakup album with Daryl Hannah. So if you listen to that album through those years,
yeah,
you see some of the angry feelings come across as well. And I'm Alive is sort of a fu, like, hey, I'm here, I'm still I'm still alive.
yeah, yeah,
You think
absolutely,
you think you ruined me, but you didn't. That kind
yeah.
of thing.
So here we go, track one, The Fuse.
It's coming from so far away, it's hard to say for sure whether what I hear is music or the wind through an open door. There's a fire high in the empty sky where the sound meets the shore. There's a long distance loneliness rolling out over the desert floor. And the years that I spent lost in the mystery, far away, leaving only the sound of the drum. Like a bird. It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's, in many ways, the the actual sound of it is quite upbeat.
And then every now and again, like that, we've gone from this kind of upbeat, jolly major bit to something where it kind of paints the picture of someone kind of slowing down and then reflecting on, the horrors that they've just had to but it's he's a great storyteller, isn't he?
Yeah,
This
absolutely. Yeah.
songwriter. And
And a poet. I mean, the way he turns a phrase is, you know, interesting. And if you catch it, as you're listening to it for the first time, I'm trying to think of what that might have felt like, with fresh ears,
yeah,
But I remember back in the day when this thing was on a regular rotation for me when it came out, and I was hearing all this really interesting perspectives and brought forward in a really, like I said, a really kind of an elegant way,
mm.
just lyrically.
Yeah, and I think that it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because so often lyrics are just a bunch of words that rhyme, and it's really lovely when you listen to the lyrics and they're actually worth listening to. Because I have made no secret of the fact that I'm not a fan of Oasis,
Mm,
and part of the reason for that is that it's word salad. And if you're going to sing words, the words should tell a story. And if you're not, you should be like Lisa Gerrard from Dead Can Dance, where you just use your voice like an instrument
mm,
and you just speak in tongues. Because
yeah.
actually, that if you're using it for a color thing, that's one thing. But if you're using it to tell a story, the story should make sense. And I always love it when you said about him being a poet, uh, and I love it when it is poetry. It tells a story and it has all of these different layers within it.
Hmm.
Um, but a great start to the album. Your Bright Baby Blues, blues tinged ballad featuring gorgeous bottleneck slide guitar by David Lindley,
Mm.
and backing vocals from Lowell George. One of well, even as I read that out, I was thinking, why did you not get Lowell George to play slide guitar on this, as one of the greatest slide guitar players of all time?
Right. Well, I mean, clearly Little Feat, yeah, you get they're a top band in that period,
Mm,
and Lowell George is sort of this iconic figure. But I got to tell you, David Lindley is perhaps one of the most talented musicians out there, and he played slide on the Fuse as well. He's incredible in concert. I saw him as a sideman dozens of times when I've seen Jackson shows, and so he holds his own. I'm not saying he's better or anything like that, but he's quite the musician anyway. Um, but some of the writing, I'm going to kind of shift gears because I'm kind of a lyric head. But
yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
absolutely.
one of the great lines in this is, "No matter how fast I run, I can never seem to get away from me." And again, sort of step back, take a deep breath, close your eyes, ponder on that. Like, yeah, we've got to live with ourselves.
Mm,
And he's kind of dealing with this longing for connection on this song. And
yeah,
like I said, his wife just died, and there's this emotional exhaustion that comes through, and he's just like, God, I'm longing to see those bright baby blues.
yeah,
Look into your eyes and connect.
yeah. So your Bright Baby Blues.
I'm sitting down by the highway, down by that highway side. Everybody's going somewhere, riding this as fast as they can ride. I guess they got a lot to do before they can rest
just the way that the chords progress through this is just delightful, isn't it? You know, it's somebody that has a real comfort with changes of key and chord, and it's just lovely. And like so many of these, like super polished, super talented people, you sit back and relax because there is no possibility of anything coming through that isn't supposed to be there. I'm sure he's the same in concert. You know, it's like it would just be him just entertaining rather than trying to show off or anything. Yeah, so it was Lee that said this. A brilliant body of work. So it would seem. Yes. So how can you have got to my age and not come across this, Russ? So Linda Paloma, a fleeting, ethereal dream of romance, featuring a distinct Mexican mariachi flavor, complete with acoustic harp and violins.
Yeah, for me, it's the weakest tune on the album. And oftentimes especially if I'm listening to it like on Spotify, I'll just like don't play the song. I'll take it off the listing. Um, but there's an interesting backstory to this, and when you listen to it, there's some flamenco guitars on there
Mm.
and whatnot, which makes it kind of interesting for those that are inclined to be interested by that. Uh, for me, it was kind of like, yeah, it doesn't fit that well. But the backstory was they used to go to his wife and he used to go to their favorite Mexican restaurant and had flamenco players, and the guy was
Right.
flirting with her often when he would get up to go to the restroom or whatnot. So there's a little something inside the lyrics of this song that kind of describes that a bit.
Yeah. So again, a degree of kind of autobiography, I guess,
Yeah,
in it.
tongue and some tongue in cheek, I think too. Plus, remembering that,
Yeah.
it's a memory
Yeah.
for him.
At the moment the music began, and you heard the guitar player starting to sing, you were filled with the beauty that man can make you imagine. Dreaming of scenes from the songs of love. I was the endless sky, and you were my Mexican dove.
It's actually a bit of a tearjerker, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, understanding the backstory a little bit, you can see it being like a now fond memory kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I mean, the next song, however,
Mm,
reading the backstory of this, I mean,
yeah.
this is just it's awful, isn't it? So this was co-written by the mother of
Right.
his wife that had just committed suicide,
Yeah.
and yeah, it says an upbeat, radio-friendly country pop rocker that masks deeply painful lyrics.
Mm,
Uh, so Nancy Farnsworth, the mother of his late wife, the song directly addresses the sudden, overwhelming waves of grief that accompany a lost love.
hmm
Uh, yeah,
and the way the song is actually put together, it sort of repeats. Like there's this emotional kind of painful cycle that sort of gets conveyed in the way the song is
mm,
presented to us, which I think is really powerful. And it was a radio hit, and I think it hit top 25 or something when it was first released. And there's an interesting player on this, John Hall from Orleans, plays a solo in the middle of the song, which again is a really nice piece of music. If you go back and listen to that particularly, it's pretty pretty cool. And Bonnie Raitt sings harmony.
Yeah. So here we go. Here come those tears again.
Here come those tears again. Just when I was getting over you. Just when I was gonna make it through another night without
Good question.
thinking I might just be strong enough after all. When I hear your footsteps echoing in the hall, baby, here we stand again, where we've been so many times before. Even though you look so sure, as I was watching you walking out my door, that you always walk back in like you did today. Acting like you never leave. Ran away, well I don't know if I hoping that you can do. Here come those tears. Here come those tears again.
Yeah. So quite a tough way, as Andrew says. When is there ever a happy-go-lucky country song? And yeah, it's not about road laughs, and it's kind of a good end to the first side. So you can turn the record over,
Mm.
and have a little bit
Mm.
of a breather. But it's quite interesting, isn't it? That this reached. I say quite interesting. This, you said, his breakthrough album reached number 5 on the Billboard 200 album chart, making it his first top 5 record. It was certified RIAA multi-platinum, eventually selling over 3 million copies in the US alone. Okay, so it is quite a big seller. And singles from the album were "Here Come Those Tears Again" and "The Pretender," which went to number 23 and number 58, and kept him the mainstay of both top 40 album-orientated rock radio stations. Um, although the critical reviews, it says that they polarized reviewers at the release. So some were rabid fans, and some not impressed at all with this.
Mm.
Um, and it does make you wonder, kind of, why, because it's whether or not you like it or not, and I do. I hasten to add, it's a sophisticated piece of music, isn't it? It's not
Right.
lollipop pop.
Yeah, and I think a lot of um, reviewers are looking for that light kind of like, yeah, it's got good rhythm, kind of thing. And
Yeah,
that's not what this album is. So if you're looking for that, you'll be disappointed. However, as we've been talking, if you want something deeper, if you want to feel something, for 40 minutes, listen to this, and you'll get all kinds of feelings, and it'll perhaps even test you to kind of consider where are you on some of this. Are you happy with where you're heading in your life? That kind of stuff. And
yeah.
again, I came to it as a young teenager, so it was the perfect thing and the perfect set of questions for me to be wrestling with. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you picked a fine time to come home, Lucille, with 4 hungry children and a crop in the field. I've now got extra help
right,
to deal with those things.
right.
So side two, the only child.
Mm,
So you said about the who's who of artists performing on this. So
mm,
harmony vocals from Don Henley and Glenn Frey. Interestingly, so I didn't know this. Now you, of course, will. Um, but Jackson Browne wrote some of the lyrics for "Take It Easy" by
right. They
Beatles.
co-wrote that. Yeah,
Yeah. So maybe that was the trade-off. I'll write this for you.
sure.
You
Right,
guys come and put some vocals on my album.
right. Yeah,
Because it,
that he cut that album on an earlier he cut that song on an earlier album himself as
right.
well, which if you listen to those two, they're presented in a different way. Really kind of cool vibe,
I,
like
I will have to go and listen to that. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but it does beg the question, doesn't it? So he's got Bonnie Raitt, he's got Lowell George, he's got Glenn Frey, he's got Don Henley, he's got
J.D. Souther's on this song.
yeah,
Yeah,
Jeff Porcaro
right,
from Toto. He's
right.
got Graham Nash, David Cross. So how do you go about getting these people? Because some years ago we did uh, Brothers in Arms, Dire Straits,
Mm,
and obviously on Money for Nothing, Sting is doing the backing vocals because he just happened to be in the studio. It was in somewhere in the West Indies, and he happened to be in the next studio, or they crossed as one lot were going in and one lot were coming out, and they said, "Oh, do you want to come and do this with us?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to."
yeah.
So some of these chance encounters, but this seems a great deal more planned than that, doesn't it?
Well, I think there was this whole Southern California rock tribe, and they all hung out together. They all played on each other's albums. They kind of lived together in Laurel Canyon. Uh, there were all these stories about these parties they would have, and guys would get together on the back porch kind of thing, and they'd have a cookout, a barbecue, and play some tunes and drink some beer, and so. I think a lot of those players hung out together on a regular basis, and they kind of lived near each other. And I think they collaborated in a lot of ways, either formally or informally, and it created a whole sound. I mean, that was kind of a sound in that early '70s
Yeah, yeah,
U.S. Yeah.
yeah. So here we go. Track one, side two, and let's listen out for the Eagles on this. The Only Child.
Boy of mine, as your fortune comes to carry you down the line, and you watch while the changes unfold, and you sort among the stories you'll be told. If some pieces of the picture are hard to find, and the answers to your question are hard to hold, take good care of your mother when you're making up your mind. Should one thing or another take you from behind?
You can hear you can't hide those lying eyes in the harmonies, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very stereotypically Eagles. Don't get me wrong, it's not a criticism. I love the Eagles,
Sure.
but it's
Yeah, they're in there.
yeah, and I hadn't noticed that on the first couple of listens. I mean, I'd obviously heard it and thought, oh, that sounds a bit like the, but I hadn't done my kind of research at that point, and it's really interesting watching all the pieces of the puzzle fall into place, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, back to the lyrics on this. He's trying to comfort his son, and it's kind of written to his son, and he's kind of saying like,
Yeah, because
"Hey,
his son was only a year old, wasn't he, when his mother committed suicide?
yeah, maybe a little older, but very under 5."
Yeah,
I don't know the exact age. If you've got it in front of you, then maybe that was right. But I thought he was a little bit older. Um, but again, he's kind of the only child, and he's kind of writing the song to kind of say, prepare for as you mature, there's going to be questions that you don't have the answer to, and
mm.
that's okay. That's part of growing up and whatnot. So again, I think it's kind of a powerful song to have in this collection.
Yeah, I would agree. But the whole album is, and it's really interesting, isn't it? When you stand back and you look at you listen to the songs and you look at the meaning behind each of the songs and how you're watching. It's like you're watching Jackson Browne's development in terms of coming to terms with these things. So when you pair the first half of the record, and the loss and the immediate pain of having lost someone that you loved, and then kind of trying to explain it to your child, even though your child is too young to be able to and then the next track, Daddy's Tune. So this is him, a poignant attempt at reconciliation with his own father. The tragedy of losing his wife seemed to catalyse Browne's desire to patch up fractured family ties before it was too late. And I think that it's kind of really amazing, isn't it, that you watch how he's looking inwards towards his own family at the start, and then he's looking outwards towards his wider family, and thinking about how he doesn't want to have a repeat of this with them and lose his father, not having patched up that.
I think it's, again, kind of a great segue from one to the next. So he's dealing with his young son, and now he's also, trying to address sort of this song. As you listen to it, he's basically saying it's okay that we disagree, but I recognize the wisdom that you tried to impart on me.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, I'm sure that's going through his mind as he's dealing with the loss, and looking for comfort and finding it maybe with a repaired parental relationship. And, I think this song kind of attempts to get at that. Like, hey, I had to do my own thing. I had to learn my own lessons, but I appreciate you trying to help me.
Yeah. Absolutely. So this is Daddy's Tune.
Well, a dirty wind blows through the sky, and the autumn leaves cut loose and fly. Leave me watching, wishing I could follow.
It's a great opening lyric.
Yeah,
isn't that just so elegant?
That's poetry, man.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Though among the regrets that I can't get by, there are just one or two unkind things I said to you. Daddy, what was I supposed to do? I don't know why it was so hard to talk to you. I guess my anger pulled me through. No sooner had I hit the streets, I met the fools that are young for me, all in search of truth, bound for glory.
I see what you mean about that Californian sound of that particular era, because the way that the voice interacts with the chords and where they support the melody, this is interchangeable with the Eagles and Crosby, Stills, Nash, and even to a lesser extent Joni Mitchell, who were all in that kind of group, and very different to, if you like, Billy Joel, that was doing it on the other side of the country, that New York sound, and a very distinct.
And Springsteen, because he was kind of breaking through at the same time.
Yeah.
And a very different sound, And
yeah.
I agree. I think that's a brilliant observation. That you had kind of these competing East Coast, West Coast kind of things, and later, when rap emerged, it was a similar kind of thing. There was differences in that music, from the two sides, and they literally, drew a line and said we're competing. Where I'm not sure that Springsteen would have said that he was competing with Jackson Browne. I don't think that was the case.
No, I think you're probably right, but a very distinctly different flavour.
Absolutely.
Let's have a little bit more of that.
Listening to our own heartbeats, we stood around the club. It's fading down, the older I become. Living your life day after day. Soon all your plans are changing.
It is really interesting to me how the song starts off in one place and goes through this complete transformation into, uh, a ballsy, jazzy thing powered by horns, and almost like a sort of, almost like a show tune, and then back to what it was at the beginning. And it's that segue creates a completely different mood in the middle of the song, doesn't it?
It does, and I think it's sort of it's his, even lyrically, as that song makes those changes, it's like I would turn the pages back if the time will not allow. It's kind of like you're right. I get that now, but what can I do about it? The only thing I can do is go forward, and I hope you come forward with me. That kind
Yeah,
of thing, and it's happier and it's jaunty,
yeah,
and you've got that kind of feel in it, and then it kind of comes to that place where it's contemplative, and it's like, you know, we're going through this together. Also, the stuff going on in my life is impacting you too. That kind of message, I think, is
yeah, yeah,
sort of in there. And I don't know. I mean, overall, we didn't really talk about this at the outset, but this album to me is as much about time passing as it is about loss. The
yeah,
whole album has this time theme through it, and it's like it just every song makes some kind of reference to the fact that we can't do anything about it. We can only go forward. There's
yeah,
no way to undo stuff that happened in the past. We don't get a redo.
yeah,
It's just forward, and we're doing it in essence alone is a message that he's sending in this album, like where
yeah,
it's inside us, it's between our own two ears, where we have to live our life. Time doesn't let us go anywhere but forward, and and we all have our own experience. And again, as a young kid listening to this, it was like a pretty powerful message, and one that I really hadn't thought about till I heard the album.
yeah. An important and an important one to kind of ponder when you're young and trying to decide on your
And,
direction in life. So, Sleep's Dark and Silent Gate.
mm,
This looks like this is about Jackson's grief and insomnia following the loss of his
right,
wife.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
I
it's
don't know
almost
where
like
I've
a
been.
it's almost like a lullaby when you listen to it.
Yeah, absolutely. The lyrics, I don't know where I've been. I don't know where I'm going. Oh God, this is some shape I'm in.
Mm,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, a difficult one, and I think the most difficult listen on the album, really.
Yeah, especially when you understand the backstory to it, that insomnia, that those sleepless nights after this loss and trying to come to grips with it. And you can imagine what kind of a set of questions you have in your mind, like why did this happen and what could I have done differently to make it not happen? And, all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff is kind of baked into this thing. And now I'm laying in bed at night trying to get to sleep and I can't.
yeah. So here we go. Sleep's Dark and Silent Gate.
Sometimes I lie awake at night and wonder where my life will lead me. Waiting to pass under sleep's dark and silently. I found my love today, running round day after day, looking for the time to play while my old friends slipped away.
it's a great song, and it sets up for the last song, which is the biggie on the album, both in terms of visibility and size, because it's quite a long track, certainly for this period. Uh, so critical reviews on this. Robert Christgau was famously lukewarm, and he and others felt that Browne had traded his acoustic purity for slick, over-polished LA production, which kind of it has got that Californian sound to it. Time has been incredibly kind to The Pretender. It is widely viewed as a prophetic critique of the yuppie culture that would dominate the 80s. Rolling Stone placed it on their list of 500 greatest albums of all time, praising its eloquent sense of language and brave excavation of grief and spiritual uncertainty. Are you the Pretender? That was a comment that has been, or a question that's been asked of Browne many times. And he clarified that while there's a bit of the Pretender in him, the song isn't strictly about himself. And I kind of always love when the songwriters are asked questions like that. But perhaps the best ever answer for that is when Don McLean was asked, "What does American Pie mean?" And he said, "It means I don't ever need to work again." so but I do think that there's obviously there's a huge, you can see it in every song, there's a huge amount of his own personal struggle and journey through this album.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a philosophical sort of centerpiece of the whole thing. And
Yeah,
a lot of people kind of say, oh, it's about selling out. And he's, the Pretender's a sellout. He's chasing the money and that kind of stuff. And I kind of see it differently. I think Jackson's posing a question, and it's sort of like, if you really want to live your life the way you want to live your life, it's not about pursuing your ideals. Like, yes, you should have morals and and that kind of stuff. But he's saying, we all have to make a living here, and at the end of the day, that's what we have to do. And I think he's even dealing with all the other subject matter on the album. He's kind of saying, I still have to get out there and make an album, and this album comes out, the year when his wife committed suicide. He still went back to the studio and did something, and and then the Pretender's kind of like, yeah, this is about commercial success too, and it's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person because you have to make a living.
Well, I think that when you are in the popular music world, the kind of the clue is in the title, isn't it? It's popular, So if you produce an album that nobody likes and nobody buys, then it doesn't matter how good you think it is or your producer thinks it is. It isn't good, because the whole point is people should buy it and enjoy listening to it.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain amount of kind of overlap, isn't there, in this particular Venn diagram between
right.
being true to your ideals and being a purist, but also recognizing that it can be incredibly pure if you never publish it because no one wants to buy it. So
Right.
ultimately you have to deliver the message in a vehicle that people want. But this last track, I mean, this is it, isn't it? I mean, it's got everything in this. It's got David Crosby and Graham Nash. It's got Jeff Porcaro. It's even got a quote, hasn't it, from Marlon Brando's On the Waterfront. So where it says, and believe in whatever may lie in those things that money can buy. Through true love, I could have been a contender. So it's a great track to finish.
The lyric in there that always resonates with me, and there's a bunch. I mean, like you said, there's some pretty cool stuff that he's, in the way he's presenting this and telling his story. But I really love, I'm going to be a happy idiot and struggle for the legal tender.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, yeah. And again, it's sort of that middle class ideal, like you have to make a living, and this is how I make my living. I write songs that people like and buy, so they buy them, buy my albums.
And there's a certain longevity to this guy, isn't there? Because this was 1976, so we're now 50 years after his fourth album came out, and he's still making albums.
Right.
So that's quite a legacy to leave, isn't it?
Yeah, and he recently had some heart issues, and I guess they put in a mechanical heart, and he actually wrote a song about that, and that's on one of his recent albums. So like I say, I mean, he's writing about his times, and it's it's not the seafaring songs of yesteryear or anything like that. He's writing about the stuff
right about what he knows.
That's present and of his time.
Yeah. So here we go. The title track, "The Pretender."
I'm gonna rid myself of help in the shade of the freeway. Gonna pack my lunch in the morning and go to work each day. And when the evening rolls around, I go home and lay my body down. When the morning light comes streaming in, I'll get up and do it again. Amen. Say it again. Amen. I wanna know what became of the changes we waited for love to bring. Were they only the fitful dreams of some greater awakening? I've been aware of the time going by. They say in the end, it's the wink of an eye. When the morning light comes streaming in, get up and do it again.
Fantastic song, fantastic end to a great album.
Yeah, really. And just that little part you played, he's like, I want to know what became of the changes, and it's like the ideal. He's referencing these ideals that he thought were really driving him. But when the morning light comes streaming in, I'll get up and do it again. I'll pack my bag and go to work. Pack my lunch bag and go to work, kind of thing. And as a middle class kid growing up and listening to this, I was kind of like, yeah, I guess that's what life's about. It's not selling out. It's not selling out on your ideals. It's about getting by, making a living, and moving forward.
Yeah. So a great album, and I read the critical thing that said time has been incredibly kind to the Pretender, which I think it has. It's relevant today, and it doesn't sound dated at all. It sounds sunny American, and Californian. And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
From those British ears of yours.
Yeah, but it's still good, like when you listen to an Eagles or a Crosby, Stills, Nash or whatever. It's every bit as good today as it was 50 years ago when it was produced, and that's
art, man.
Yeah, it is, but there's precious little of that around, because often stuff that is very of the moment, it doesn't age gracefully, and 20 years later when you're listening to it, I can't really see what I saw in that, and this is not one of those. So great, thank you for bringing this album. What a fantastic album, a great end to the week.
Thanks for featuring it. I'm really happy it resonated with you.
Yeah, it did, and I'm sure it did with everyone that is listening, has listened, and will listen on repeat. So next week I'm joined by Jim Wolfe to do Boards of Canada. So until then, thank you, Jimmy Kerr, and And I hope to see you again soon. And until next week, everybody, goodbye.